Hi. Business planning begins with sales planning. A sales plan consists of a sales forecast and a plan to achieve the forecast. A sales forecast is a projection of the number of units of products or service you want to sell in a given period. Usually, sales forecasts are done for 1 year. For existing businesses, forecasting is usually based on the previous year's sales. For new businesses, forecasting is based on market research, your competitors, your company capacity, and your ambition. Your company's ability to spend, how many units of product or service can it afford to produce in a year, can also affect your sales forecast. Also, there are time-tested strategies that can help you forecast your sales accurately. We'll look at each of these in detail. When doing your market research, you can use either a top-down or a bottom-up approach. Confused? Let us consider the example of a t-shirt business. Imagine your business is making hand-printed t-shirts for teenagers and adults. In the top-down approach, you determine the total addressable market and then estimate your share of that market. Total addressable market, or TAM, is the total number of people in a geography who can use your product or service. Now, in case of the t-shirt business, you find out that a total of 100,000 people in your geography buy t-shirts. You need to decide what percentage of this total addressable market do you want to capture. Say you want to sell to 5% of the total addressable market in the first year. That would mean you want to sell to 5,000 customers in 1 year. Let's look at the bottom-up approach. You have identified a popular clothing store for selling your t-shirts. Now, to use a bottom-up approach to your sales forecasting, you need to find out how many customers visit the shop for a sale of, let's say, 100 t-shirts in a month. As part of the market research, try to learn to find out the sales numbers of your nearest competitors. But keep in mind that the sales of an established business will be much higher than a new one. Now let's see how your capacity and ambition affect your sales forecast. Continuing with the t-shirt example, say based on your market research, you learn that you can achieve a monthly sales of 500 t-shirts. But do you have the infrastructure and cash needed to make 500 t-shirts? Do you want to start with a sales size as large as 500 t-shirts? Or do you want to test the waters by starting smaller, let's say 200 t-shirts? Think about it. Let's look at some of the time-tested forecasting strategies. 1. Lead-driven forecasting. Based on your market research or based on data from a previous year, analyze each lead and assign a value to that source. This forecasting is ideal for companies who have clear data on their lead sources or data from previous years. 2. Length of sales cycle forecasting. This strategy uses data on how long a lead takes to convert to a sale. The length of a sales cycle depends on your industry. For the first year of your company, you could do some research on how long a sales cycle can take for your product or service. Going forward over the years, you could combine your research data with past sales data to determine your sales cycle. Now imagine your sales cycle typically takes 4 months and your salesperson has been working a potential client for 3 months. In this case, your forecast might suggest that he or she have a 75% chance of closing the deal in the 4th month. 3. Intuitive forecasting. This strategy is based on trusting that your salespeople are the best people for accurately forecasting their own sales. Start by asking each one how confident they are that their sales will close and when. The pitfalls of this method are obviously there is a risk of forecasting too much or too little. But it can be a good option for companies who are just starting out and who don't have their own past data at all to fall back upon. Fourth, test market analysis forecasting. This strategy is great for new companies rolling out their product or service for the first time in the market. As the name suggests, you do a limited launch of your product or service and analyze the response. Using the result of your analysis, you can make a near accurate forecast. Two things to remember for this strategy is, first, what happens in one geographical area is different from what happens in another. Second, a limited launch can be expensive. Your costs may be more than your revenues. If your company is considering a soft launch, a test market forecasting may be useful. 5. Historical forecasting. In this strategy, you use your past sales data to forecast the sales for the next year, considering a stable growth rate. For example, if you sold $15,000 worth of material in November last year, with a 5% growth rate, you will sell $15,750 worth of material in the November next year. The pitfall of this method is that it does not consider market fluctuations. Perhaps you can make out by now that each of these forecasting strategies has its own pros and cons. The best approach is to take the best of these strategies for your forecasting. It is important to keep in mind that there is no exact science to forecasting. Now you need to determine how many of your prospects can you reach out by calls, emails, and meetings. These are your leads. Next, divide your leads into geographies. Different sales team members will handle these geographies. Then divide your monthly target for each geography. Some geographies are likely to have more customers or customers with more buying capacity than the others. Assign a higher target to these geographies. With the yearly forecasts in place, divide the total number of units you want to sell in a year across different months. Are there any months where sales are likely to be higher than the others? Set a higher target for those months. After you have your monthly forecasting ready, create a plan to achieve your sales target. How are you planning to reach the leads you identified earlier? Put a number to how many leads you want to call, email, or visit on a monthly basis to achieve the monthly sales target. Are you planning to attend any business such as trade shows? Plan for that as well. But remember to allocate monthly budget for your sales activity. The sales plan is a living document, meaning you need to revisit it from time to time to ensure that the goals are still realistic. Use the sales plan to periodically monitor the progress of your sales team. Check if they need any help and motivate them to achieve more.